I've cooked for fancy dinner parties, I've been private catering for the past several years. I've also worked the line at fancy restaurants. Out of everyone I've cooked for, including chefs, the hardest food critics have always been kids. One of the best ways to get a kid excited about food is to put a twist on a classic. We're gonna be doing a beautiful grilled cheese sandwich with mozzarella, medium cheddar. We're gonna use some nice white bread as well as some challah bread, which is egg bread, and we're gonna put cheese on the outside. Another way to get kids excited is to get them involved in the cooking process. So instead of using your standard ketchup, we're gonna be making our own homemade ketchup with just a few simple ingredients that everyone probably already has at home. You guys ready to get started? I know I am, so let's get cracking on this ketchup. The first step to making our own homemade ketchup is probably something you don't want to let your kids do, and that's gonna be slicing the tomatoes. I'll leave that up to you. We're gonna slice our tomatoes into smaller, manageable pieces. If your knife isn't sharp, you're gonna bruise the tomatoes, so make sure you have a nice sharp knife at home. My tomatoes are all chopped up. It's time to get my preheated pan, which has been on the medium heat. Okay, and I'm gonna slide this in, and we hear a sizzle. That's what we want. We're saving time by preheating. And now, a couple quick tosses. We're gonna move this over to our stove. Okay, my tomatoes are down in the pan for my ketchup. My vinegar, my tomato paste, brown sugar, and cinnamon are gonna join me over there as well. Now that our ketchup is cooking away on the stove, it's time to get prepped for our grilled cheese sandwiches. Now, one of your options is if you have room temperature butter, you may wanna spread some butter on the outside of the sandwich, but for this case, I'm just gonna add butter into the pan and swirl my sandwiches around that way. I'm gonna lay down a nice layer of mozzarella. Be sure to get to all the corners here. And then I'm gonna take some cheddar cheese, and I'm going to make sure, again, I hit all four corners and in the center. Tops go on, and these are ready for the pan. To keep this ketchup super simple, we have our tomatoes in here. I'm going to add in some apple cider vinegar, just like that. And if you want, you can have your kids do this as well under supervision, that would be great. We're just gonna add all the ingredients into the tomatoes at once. Tomato paste is gonna go in. That's gonna give your tomato sauce not only color, but that essence of the tomato, that depth, and that's what you want. We're gonna add in some brown sugar, of course. Brown sugar is gonna give us that sweetness. Boom. Cinnamon is very strong, so instead of using the spoon, I'm just gonna use the tip of it actually, and put in maybe 1/3 of a teaspoon, and that's gonna season the entire ketchup, believe it or not. We do need to add some salt in here. Finally, black pepper. Believe it or not, the ketchup is almost done. All we have to do now is just sit back, relax, cook our grilled cheeses, and let this stew away. Once it becomes much thicker and most of the moisture has evaporated, it'll be perfect for blending, and we can adjust seasoning. That simple. So let's get cooking our grilled cheese. I'm gonna take a little bit of butter, and I just wanna coat the bottom of the pan with this piece of butter. Butter makes everything taste better. What kid doesn't love some butter? The pan is nice and hot. The butter is not browning or burning too quickly, so I know the pan is at a good temperature. I'm gonna lay this down, give it a little bit of a shake, make sure it hits all that butter, just like that. And we're off to the races. We just need to be a little bit patient while this is cooking, and we'll have an amazing, impressive kids' dinner ready in no time. So our grilled cheeses are down. I've made sure the bottoms are completely covered with the fat, the butter, the oil, whatever you like to use at home. And I'm gonna let them cook until they're golden brown. It may take between 3 or 4 minutes, but that's okay. Remember, we want the inside to melt. I think we're ready to flip now, so I'm gonna take a look. Okay, that looks good to me. Nice and golden brown. All the corners are hit. That's a good sign. This guy as well, perfect. We are now gonna go ahead and add some cheese to the top of this. So this is actually a really big secret, and it's gonna make all the difference in the grilled cheese, and it's gonna taste that much better and look that much cooler. Okay, so we have a nice thin layer of cheese on the outside of our toasted side already. You don't want to put it on the side that's not toasted because you want that texture. So I'm gonna let this cook and brown fully on the other side before I flip it. When I flip it, it's gonna cook for another minute to 90 seconds. We wanna get a nice crusty layer of cheese on the outside. The ketchup is just coming together now. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a stir. As you can see, it's thickening up quite a bit, and that's what we want. So the thicker we get this mixture, the thicker your ketchup is gonna be. If this is too runny, it's gonna come out more like a tomato sauce. We don't want that. When you're cooking your grilled cheese, you want a very soft, slow searing process going, okay? Sometimes I get down in there and I like to listen to it. Our ketchup is at the perfect consistency. As you can see, the moisture has all been evaporated. I'm gonna give it another 20 to 30 seconds here, and then I'm gonna remove it, and then we can let it rest before we blend it. Tastes like gold. I don't know what to tell you. I'm happy. It's now time to flip our grilled cheese. You go ahead and flip one. Oh yeah. It's been about a minute. I flipped the grilled cheese with the cheese side down. If you look closely, you can see the cheese caramelizing on the outside. Once you flip it, you cannot touch it because the cheese is still melting. It's gonna go everywhere. What we're looking for is the cheese to form a nice golden brown crust on the outside. Okay, so I'm gonna take a little bit of a peek underneath. Oh, it's perfect. This is exactly what we want. Carefully lift over and boom. Look at that. Isn't that just the most beautiful sight? I'm like losing my words right now. I'm getting a little bit almost teary-eyed. Look at this perfect golden brown crust of cheese that we formed. Oh, just the sound of that is just like music to my life. What we're gonna do is shut the heat off in this pan. The cheese has melted on the inside very nicely. I know because I see it stretching apart there. It's perfect. Let's get our tomato ketchup ready so we can go ahead and plate this up for the kids. So guys, I got my ketchup here. It's cooled down a little bit, but it's still nice and warm. And you see how much it's reduced. I'm gonna put it into this liter container that I have here. And I'm going to blend it with a hand blender. If you're blending this in something shallow, you run the risk of wearing it. Guys, our ketchup is done. Beautiful, holding its shape. Especially when this cools down, it's gonna become even thicker, but this is perfect. It's sweet, it's sour, a beautiful note from that cinnamon, very tomatoey. We get that depth from the tomato paste that we put in. We also have the color. Guys, it's time to plate, my favorite time of the episode. I'm going to put my ketchup aside, grab my beautiful grilled cheese with the cheese on the outside as well as the inside. And I'm gonna cut these guys in half. Both of our sandwiches are nice and stringy, and that's exactly what we're looking for here. And here's our ketchup going down, guys. We have our beautiful grilled cheese. The cheese is oozing everywhere. There's cheese on the outside. All this is missing is a nice cold glass of milk. Perfect dish to get the kids involved with, and a perfect dish that the kids will always love. I gotta dig in right now. This is too good to be true. The cheese on the outside takes this to the other level. I won't lie. And with the sweet tanginess of this homemade ketchup that we made, this will guarantee impress your kids any day, anytime, anywhere. Sorry kids, at home you're gonna have to make another batch because I gotta eat these ones right here, right now, later. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, please sub me. Oh, I'll try again. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, please sub me. Also, if you have someone you want to impress, write it in the comments and I'll kick out the video.